This is what's happening, unfortunately, across the United States, not only the United States, but North America and, of course, even Europe. Grocery stores across US, for example, laid bare like the 1980s Soviet Union. The stores across America now resemble something out of 1980s Soviet Union and even China, or even Cuba, as the shortages of basic foodstuffs are now becoming alarmingly clear, as millions of workers remain at home. Essential functions such as shipping, unloading, and stocking have ground to a halt. And it's not only food items, it's also anything to do with consumer products or electrical technology, even cars. It used to be that you'd have to wait a couple of months to get a new car. Now it's over 9 months. Now, as a result of these widespread work absences, shoppers are now facing bare shelves in supermarkets. Daily Mail says the misery has been compounded by inflation. Consumer prices rose in the United States by 6.8% in November from the year before, the fastest pace in 39 years. The December inflation report due Wednesday is expected to show price gains accelerated further last month. Grocer Albertsons, which owns Safeway, Vons, and Jewel Osco, said on Tuesday the Omicron variant put a dent on the recovery of its supply chains. It's expected the issues no longer to linger for longer duration. Vivin Sankaran, Chief Executive Officer, on earnings call says there were more supply challenges. There are more, and we would expect more supply challenges over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Sankaran also said Albertsons had to deal with several product categories being out of stock for a few months. He says, I think as a business, we've all learned to manage it. We've all learned to make sure that the stores are still very presentable, give the customers a choice as to what he can get, he said. But even so, he said these variants are putting a bit of a dent on efforts to improve supply chain gaps. He said we would expect more supply challenges over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. Analysts in corporate America had previously estimated supply chain to ease halfway through the year, but a full recovery could now be delayed because of Omicron-related issues, including labor shortages. Deutsche Bank analysts wrote in a Tuesday note, for 2022, we expect supply pressure to likely linger for longer, perhaps until the second half of next year, before gradually unwinding. Grocery stores are operating with less than their normal workforces, according to National Grocers Association, and many of its members have less than 50% of their normal workforce. While there's plenty of food in the supply chain, we anticipate consumers will continue to experience sporadic disruptions in certain products categories as we've seen over the past year and a half due to the continued supply and labor challenges. It's like a Soviet store during 1981. It's horrible, one man at Washington, D.C. grocery store told Fox News. Memes began circulating, and a hashtag bare shelves began trending. Pete Buttigieg, Transport Secretary, said the administration is working to minimize further supply chain disruptions. And he says, where there is an issue affecting ports here, you will feel it as far away as my Indiana hometown, he said. In October, the administration announced support of Los Angeles would begin operating 24/7, a move that had already been made at the port of Long Beach. At the time, there were about 70 ships waiting to get into the ports. Now, while Buttigieg praised the operations at ports over the holiday season, he noted that goods have to keep flowing to address the ongoing crisis. He says not only is this about the presents under the tree, it's also about essential goods like medical goods that are needed at this moment. Now, the port is considering implementing fines for containers which are left sitting on the docks in a bid to speed up the transport of goods. The fines, if implemented, will begin at $100 per container, increased by $100 per container each day, and containers set to be transported by truck will include fines if they remain at the port for 9 days or more. For rail containers, fines will be assessed if they are at the port for 3 days or more. John Katsimatsidis, CEO of New York City supermarket chain Christidis, told Fox News that the supply chain problems were severe. He said, Omicron is taking a toll at different levels of the supply chain, whether it's a warehouse, whether it's selectors, drivers, loaders, and as they all call in sick, there are interruptions. Katsimatidis said that through Christidis has multiple supplies, everyone is feeling the impact of the rise in sick outs, and retailers are driving up the prices of beef, eggs, chicken in order to keep product on the shelves for more consumers. And he says if they normally sell 10 million pounds of chicken, they figure if they raise the price by 10 or 20 cents, some people will buy less chicken, and the people that really want to buy the chicken will be there for them to buy, he said. And though he warns that as supplies continues to be squeezed, some products may take longer to get to the supermarket shelves. Katsimatidis also said the rising cost of oil is also having a dramatic impact on the price of food and called the administration to seek out ways to cut the prices of gas. Larry, another DC shopper, said, whatever it is, I know they need to hurry up and get this straightened out because people will be starving. It's going to get rough if it keeps on continuing like that. And Zanetta, another shopper, said that she had been to several stores in DC area and shelves were bare everywhere. She said a lot of the stores have been down like this. I think she said that we're about to have a food shortage everywhere is pretty empty. And another woman, Megan, told the site that her friend warned her not to shop at a local Trader Joe's. Megan said, I also had a friend who came before me and said, don't even bother coming in. They don't have any trucks. Nobody's been able to get what they need. Phil Lampert, industry analyst and editor at Supermarket Guru, told CNN that it was a perfect storm of factors. He said, from farms to food market makers to grocery stores, it's across the board. And during this time, these operators have had to implement social distancing protocols. They're not really built for that, and it has impacted production. He said the shortage of truck drivers was compounding the problems. He said the trucking industry has an aging workforce on top of the shortage. It's really been a problem for the last several years. Severe weather in recent weeks has contributed to the issue, Lampert said, but some of the climactic issues were not short-term. Fires and droughts are damaging crops such as wheat, corn and soybean in the U.S., and coffee crops in Brazil, he said, and we can't ignore it. And he added that this time of health crisis had made people more used to cooking at home, and obviously they have to get their ingredients from the supermarket. He said, we don't want to keep eating the same thing or try to vary home cooking. As we do that, we're buying even more food products. This is by Sean Adeltapatabai and News Punch. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.